Greetings to everybody watching. Today we are time traveling back to the good old days of one of our favorite Japanese children's card games. The game is Yu-Gi-Oh! The format is March 2010 Edison, and the deck of choice is my Gladiator Beast deck. Let's get right into it. It's no secret that Edison has made its mark as a notable retro format in recent times. It's truly amazing to see the spike of interest and versatility of players and decks that have started to re-revolutionize the format. Whether viewing from a historic or modern perspective, Gladiator Beasts are undoubtedly relevant. The archetype's purpose is for monsters to resolve attacks, trigger their effects, hide themselves back in the deck, while also outputting another special summon of a monster to sculpt your specific needs that turn. Your engine monsters can literally, by themselves, build tempo while consistently pressuring your opponent to not only play around certain interactions, but consistently disrupting their plays for little to no cost to your hand or field advantage. Nearly every Gladiator Beast monster is an instant toolbox into your deck. Thus, playing reactionary and setting yourself up to handle upcoming interactions is unbelievably accessible. The spell card lineups tend to be short but effective. Trap and disruption are essential. The versatility of what modifications and deck choices can be made involving back row is vast. Let's start with the two ofs. Laquari is your notable beat stick. When specialed out, he gets an attack boost. 2100 on a level 4 covers a pretty large threshold, especially early game. Let's talk about these two together. Darius and Quest both offer you utility from your graveyard. The Quest, looping any Gladiator Beast card from your grave to your hand. Darius, special summoning the Glad from the graveyard to the field. The effect of the monster that is special summoned this way is negated. However, when Darius leaves the field, that monster is sent back to the deck. That's a worthy replenishment method worth mentioning. I wouldn't be serving proper justice if I didn't start the one-ofs off with Gladiator Beast Bestiari. On top of popping a back row when tutored out, this is your one and only bona fide link to your most dependable boss monster. Good players are rewarded when a carefully executed Bestiari is allowed to thrive. Though protecting this combo piece is top priority, there are multiple ways to shoehorn a pseudo copy of this card into existence during your turn. We'll talk about that a little later. Moving on pace here, we have your one of Mermello. He is your face-up monster destruction. Your one of Rediari for graveyard banishment. The last one of is Sam Knight, which has multiple utility that we will touch on. It's worth noting that his search effect has the clause of resolving an attack after being already tutored out by the effect of the Gladiator Beast, not normal summon, similar to Secutor. Transitioning out of the specific Gladiator Beast monster, we move on to one of the key essential cards that allow this deck to really show its ass. Despite not claiming the name of Gladiator Beast, Test Tiger is single-handedly a key piece to any progressing field state. The versatility of this card alone is a topic within itself, which is why we will revisit this card throughout this profile. As of this moment, it's worth noting that this card can special summon itself from the hand when you control a face-up Glad, and contribute itself as cost to trigger the effects for the Gladiator Beast to tag out without having to resolve an attack. The main benefit that at times often gets overlooked is that Test Tiger can activate his effect in main phase 1, and he can tag out for the same target that he sent back to the deck. Tying into the synergy with Test Tiger, and quite frankly, the rest of the archetype monsters, here is an Elemental Hero Stratos, followed by 2 Prisma. As mentioned earlier, expanding the use of your one Bestiari without physically running into the threat of its own field presence, Prisma allows exactly this. It can serve as your blanket Bestiari or even your blanket Laquari. Nearing the end of our monster count, we have 1 Rescue Cat and 1 X-Saber Arabellum. On top of being a standalone splashable tech in a lot of different decks, Cat has multiple roots here, giving you access to most of the level 6 and 7 synchro lineup with Arabellum, Sam Knight, and these bad boys right here. And for the very last monster, I still run the 1 Morphing Jar as a personal preference. Given the fact that the deck can easily set 3 to 5 and pass, is why I still elect to play it, but this could be a plethora of other choices. The spells are more or less short, sweet, and to the point. 1 Rhoda for your heroes, 2 Proving Ground for sculpting where you need to. In my experience, 2 is enough. Too many Gladiator Beast in hand can cause an issue. And for your quick play spells, we have the triple Book of Moon and the one Shrink. Book having multiple routes of utility, both offensive and defensive. Having the option of Shrink up into damage calculation can also easily change the game to your favor and catch somebody off guard. Trust me, both ensure your monsters battle and resolve their effects. To finish the spells, we have a Heavy Storm, Typhoon, and a Cold Wave. The first two honestly need probably little to no explanation. However, this has had a historic place as a staple spell in this deck to how overwhelming a combo from this deck can become with this card active. All it takes is one time with a Cold Wave Geyserist stack into a strong back row of yours to leave you rethinking life. We'll round off now with the traps. This deck does not suffer to running heavy back row. First and foremost, 2 copies of this ever so infamous archetype specific card we keep talking about. It stops a monster effect and does not care where it does so. It is also considered a Gladiator Beast card, making it recyclable by this fellow right here. The next 2 pairs have stood the test of time for being considered staples in Edison format. Any deck that runs heavy trap that can fit these in effectively, you're most of the time going to see around this kind of ratio. Moving on to the one-ofs. Call the Haunted truly does have some great utility in this deck. You run enough targets for Cat usually to have a second win. Gladiator Beast also tag out after battle, making them unrestricted if they were special summoned with this card. Another really cool interaction is that if a copy of Geyserist finds its way to your graveyard after being properly fusion summoned, he has no more than a special summon clause to his effect to trigger. Also an excellent target. If you're no stranger to Yu-Gi-Oh, these cards aren't going to be unfamiliar to you. You run them for tempo, they're field wipes, mass removal. Here's your pay half your life points to not let something happen. This card can really win you a game, believe it or not. Last but not least, we have the one-of Trap Dust Shoot. Whether or not you elect to run it is player preference. The power of gaining hand knowledge and forcing your opponent out of resources can win a game within itself. Most players know that. It's a one-of, it has a condition, you have the space to run it. It could very easily be anything else that catered your needs. We've arrived at the extra deck. At this time in Yu-Gi-Oh, Gladiator Beast had 2 main fusions that were reputable in the archetype and in the meta. First and arguably most important being Gladiator Beast Geyserist. This is your fusion monster that requires your one-of Bestiary as material. It's notable that not only when he is fusion summoned, when he is special summoned, he can destroy up to 2 cards on the field. As we mentioned with Lucaria at the beginning of the profile, how sometimes in the worst case scenario, it's good to sit on a big body. At least this one has 3000 attack and built-in spell and trap negation. Mid to late game when your opponent's struggling for resources, Arc is hard to get over. It is notable that he cannot tag out after attacking like most of the other Gladiator beasts. The rest of the extra deck is free because we run the one Arabellum, which is a level 3 tuner. We focus mostly on our level 6s and level 7s. There is a niche scenario with your Morphing Jar where you can make a level 5. So when in doubt, we play the one Cataster. Next up are going to pretty much be your best level 6s in the format. We're throwing in a Flamevale Uriquizos just for good measure. Goyo being a 28 beater that steals, Brynak being a priority bouncer by discarding. It's the same scenario with the level 7s. You run what you can. Ancient Fairy, Arabellum, and your Black Rose. Further viewing into side deck preferences, and because we have the room, we do play the one Stardust Dragon and the one Chimera Tech Fortress. I'll explain why. So currently in Edison, the meta is forever changing. A lot of the times, side deck tech options vary player to player based on what they're experiencing and who they're playing. Because Gladiator Beast operates so well with a heavy trap lineup, back row centric side deck options seem like a natural fit. A lot of them you can get away with without locking you out of any plays due to floodgates on your own side of the board. As far as these options go, I'm just going to show just a couple of cards to consider. I don't think it's any argument that Starlight Road in any back row heavy deck is never a terrible option. When you draw a handful of spells and traps and you confidently want to set 4 and hold on to a Starlight for that extra assurance over the heavy storm or whatever else could happen, it's excellent. This is a card that in later formats is a hit, but the thing is it's completely legal in Edison. It has some really cool perks, like besides the cards that have priority and tribute themselves as costs, it stops cards that declare priority. It can also stop Gladiator Beasts themselves. from attacking and tagging out and triggering their effects. It's an all-around good card and worth some exploration. I've been hit or miss on this card ever since I've been playing this card game. And fun fact, I've played this card game longer than this card's been in existence. I will say it's an absolute win condition when the right thing is stopped. Me as a player, I simply hate giving my opponent any kind of hand advantage. Oh hey, and yeah, there's also a Dust Tornado. These two cards have detrimental effects on multiple different builds. They work perfectly fluently with Gladiator Beast with no problem whatsoever. My Body as a Shield is an honorable mention. Protecting your GBs is simply how you progress in the game with tempo. And sometimes it's simply universal options that still work the best. Outside of the sideboard, here are some honorable mentions and some text to consider playing around with for the deck. You might have noticed earlier in the profile that I do not run Secutor or a Hopalomus. It's not that I do not think that they're excellent cards. I choose to tech them in when I'm running more choices like this. It is quickly worth noticing the Prisma Test Tiger combo. All you need are those two cards in your hand. You normal summon Prisma and declares effect, with priority if you damn sure need to. By revealing a copy of Gladiator Beast Gyzarus from the extra deck, you are showing that you are attempting to send diffusion material for Gyzarus listed on the card to the graveyard. You search your deck for a Bestiary. Prisma is now Bestiary, allowing you to special summon your Test Tiger. Your Test Tiger can then go to work by tributing himself off to tag out. Because Elemental Hero Prisma was counted as Bestiary, he's shuffled back into the deck as a Gladiator Beast would. From there you go Gladiator Beast Darius, the one that special summons from your graveyard. All it takes from there is to retrieve the bestie that is sitting in your graveyard. Simply tag them out back to your main deck for a 2-card Gyzarus. Well everybody, that seems like a wrap on the video today. If you liked and enjoyed this video, please let us know your thoughts and comments. Share your ideas. Let us know what you think, and if you would like to see more content like this, in-depth profiles, explanation of cards, and physical deck profiles, let us know.
I do not know why you say goodbye, I say goodbye, but you also say goodbye, and I don't know why. Why does everybody end up saying